So, folks, we got to talk about Iran because today, Iran managed to shoot down not one, but two different U.S. fighter jets. Now, while this was happening, of course, what was Donald Trump thinking about? What was he posting about? Well, the day started out with him saying, with a little more time, we can easily open the Hormuz Strait, take the oil, and make a fortune. It would be a gusher for the world. President Donald J. Trump, like, he's just posting, like, frankly, genocidal shower thoughts for the entire world to see. It's insane. Just the other day, we covered him talking about how, like, we don't even need the Strait of Hormuz. We don't even need it. We don't need oil from there. And now he's like, just, we're gonna take it. We're gonna make so much money. Ah, like, he's like a fucking villain. He's a fucking super villain. It's crazy. Okay, it's nuts. What exactly is going on with these fighter jets? Well, specifically, two U.S. warplanes shot down, an F-15 fighter jet and an A-10 attack plane, and two of the search and rescue helicopters were also hit. And yeah, there are search and rescue operations going on right now to find one of the pilots in one of these planes because, well, the rest of the crews were rescued. One of them who ejected from their aircraft is still on the ground in Iran. And God knows what'll happen if that pilot gets caught, you know? Like, Pete Hegseth has been openly posting about how, the United States will show no quarter to Iranians. And, well, we might all be about to find out why exactly it's not a good idea for the head of your military to be openly posting your intent to commit war crimes. That poor guy. Yeah, like, man, do not want to be in his shoes right now. Right? I mean, it's bad. There's been a lot of questions throughout the day of how exactly did Iran manage to shoot down an F-15 and an A-10 when just the other day, Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump were talking about how Iran has had all of their capabilities destroyed. They have no anti-aircraft anymore. We have complete air superiority. And then literally the next day, our fighter aircraft are being shot down. Like, how exactly did that happen? And of course, as soon as this news broke, Donald Trump had thoughts he needed to share with the world. So he got on Truth Social and made an official statement saying, "Keep the oil, anyone?" This is the first thing he posted. The first thing he stated publicly after knowledge that there is an American behind enemy lines in Iran. Dude's just sitting there thinking about the fucking oil and how rich he's gonna get. Like, I know this isn't surprising. It's just disgusting, Anyway, luckily, Fox News has Donald Trump's back.
I think we read the headlines, when President Trump took action to take on Iran. For 50 years, presidents have talked about doing this. And he's the first one to do it and face the scrutiny of instant gratification. Everyone wants to know, is it 2 weeks? Is it 3 weeks? Give us a timeline. But he understood that it was going to take risk and it was going to take some short-term hardships for a longer-term gain for our country, for my three boys' future, certainly.
I'm sorry, exactly how are your three boys benefiting from Iran being bombed? Exactly. Like, what threat was the Iranian government posing to your children that, like, this is all good? Because I can guarantee you there's no one who has been waking up in America for the past several years thinking, oh God, what if Iran attacks us today? Like, that hasn't been fucking happening. By the way, the F-15 looks like it costs a little under or a little over $30 million. So not quite as much as the, like, $500 million plane that got there are two $500 million planes that got destroyed the other day?
So I think this just shows that freedom is not free, and things have to be fought for and earned. And we have the best and the brightest in this country
We have the best and the brightest in this country, and that's why we need to feed all of them to the wood chipper. Send them all right over to Iran, okay? All our best and brightest, the future of our country, the young men, the young women, send them right over to Iran, okay? Because we can't compete with them here. They're too smart. They're too beautiful. They're too handsome, okay? We need to cull the population of the United States. That's what we need to do. That way my boys will have a chance at a great future where they're the only ones left to breed.
Prepared. You think of those going in to rescue these pilots, they're trained, highly trained, the most trained people in the world to take this on. So my thoughts and prayers are with them. And this is the greatest country in the world, but it doesn't come without a cost.
It doesn't come without a cost. And you know, there's only one president that knows a thing or two about coming.
I'm gonna come.
That's right. God bless Donald J. Trump. I was born to be an American. When it leaves, I know I'm free. Okay, but also, how did Iran actually manage to shoot down these planes? ABC News is reporting the method that Iran may have used here.
Colonel Gagne, what does this mean for U.S. jet strikes and other aerial missions moving forward?
That the skies are not as safe as they perhaps presumed. My guess is that this was daytime. My guess is that that the Iranians used what's called infrared. So they used detection that's passive, that used heat differences. The president did say that their radars roll down, and so he probably can claim that legitimately. But the fact that there are still anti-aircraft kinds of capabilities that are based on heat temperature differences that can identify aircraft and still target aircraft is probably what got this F-15 down.
So yeah, they're using anti-aircraft technology based on infrared, which is bad news for the U.S. military. Yeah, so Iran has apparently, according to this particular expert on ABC, been using IR munitions, IR guidance. And this is difficult for the United States to deal with, if true, because as I understand it, a lot of the technology that U.S. aircraft use in order to intercept different munitions, etc., it cannot detect infrared-based technologies, right? So jamming any kind of anti-aircraft or detecting incoming missiles gets a lot harder when you're trying to detect or intercept IR munitions. And that, in particular, is going to be a problem because essentially what the United States has done by just kind of bumblefucking into Iran is kick this hornet's nest, drastically underestimated their capabilities, and right now the Trump administration is in a panic. They do not know what to do with Iran. We covered this the other day, but bears repeating. Time Magazine put together like an article basically going over how Donald Trump doesn't have a clear way to exit this conflict. They're like, every way that he could potentially try to move to leave this conflict it comes with pretty significant downsides. Even if he just tried to pull out now, totally just like left the region, Iran still has coherent demands that they're going to hold on to. The saying that I keep coming back to day after day as we talk about this conflict is that when you are in a war, your enemy also gets a vote on when that war ends. And the problem is that historically, the United States has targeted countries that do not have a capacity to really maintain the conflict against the United States, right? Iran does have that ability. And not only do they have that ability, they have the ability to expand that conflict. So right now you've been hearing a lot about the Strait of Hormuz. And you've been hearing a lot about, oh man, 20% of the world's oil flows through the Strait of Hormuz, and a huge amount of global fertilizer flows through that as well. But what Iran has been doing is using this opportunity while clamping down on the Strait of Hormuz to formalize their control over the strait. Earlier today, a French vessel was able to navigate the Strait of Hormuz, and allegedly because they had paid Iran a toll. Iran is collecting money now for ships to traverse the strait successfully. And part of their amended demands for an end to this conflict is a global recognition of their control over the Strait of Hormuz. And that's not it either. Iran maintains the ability to expand the conflict zone to shut down 2 other pretty significant shipping lanes. And we'll talk about those in a little bit. As I said earlier, there is a pilot somewhere in Iran, possibly wounded, who ejected out of these fighter aircraft that were downed. And The Independent talked with Donald Trump earlier today, and he wouldn't say what would happen if Iran captured this pilot and harmed them in any way. Like, in a brief Friday phone interview with The Independent, the president declined to say what his course of action might be if Iranian forces managed to get the downed airman, the first American aviator to be shot down over enemy territory since an A-10 Warthog pilot ejected into Iraq after being struck by a surface-to-air missile in April of 2003, just weeks into Operation Iraqi Freedom. Asked what he'd do if the pilot is captured or harmed by Iranians, Trump replied, "Well, I can't comment on it because we hope that's not going to happen," and ended the call shortly thereafter. Like, that makes me worried about a couple of different things, right? Number one, it makes me worry that either part of what Pete Hegseth has been doing by purging the military is there's going to be an act of unfathomable violence, colossal escalation of the rate of war crimes taking place. And obviously, there have already been numerous war crimes that the United States has done in Iran. Bombing of civilian infrastructure, killing of civilians, targeting of civilian structures, etc. Schools. I believe the total number of schools hit by U.S. and Israeli forces is now over 600. I am worried that Pete Hegseth has been purging the military of any of the elements that are essentially telling him no when it comes to more damaging anti-civilian operations, targeting power plants, targeting different additional pieces of civilian infrastructure like bridges, for example. Notably, the other day, the United States targeted a major bridge in Iran, and isn't infrared tech really old at this point? I thought it'd be super easy to detect. Well, no. There are... Like, infrared is actually harder to detect in a lot of different ways, but it depends on the systems being used. But basically, a lot of US tech does not have the capability, especially older US tech, have the capability to effectively counter that particular anti-air tech. Yeah, there's passive infrared tracking, and that can make it much harder to detect. The passive nature of it. So I want to say that what's been going on obviously has a potential for escalation, and I'm not completely sold on the idea that Donald Trump doesn't have advisors telling him to nuke, telling him not to nuke Iran. There is a possibility that Donald Trump is crazy enough to do something like that, and I, frankly, am pretty worried when Donald Trump isn't willingly just babbling his mouth at any reporter who asks him a question. I'm a bit worried about where this is going to go. Yeah, exactly, Kingdom of Bruh. Like, this has already gone on beyond his attention span, and I'm kind of wondering, like, there's no way his ego will allow him to just, like, back off while the Iranian government is still shit-talking him online. And I mean, this is the first, like, you know, real shit talk war, I guess, in the online sense. And so I'm worried that he's going to continue to escalate in terms of war crimes and in terms of the munitions he's using against Iran. And so that's where what I'm worried about. And I also want to say that this worry seems to be shared by even Republican senators in Congress. And it's worth noting that some cracks in MAGA support of Donald Trump seem to be forming. For example, here's Senator John Curtis, who earlier today put out a statement saying, "I stand by the president's actions taken in defense of our national security interests in the Middle East, but we must be clear-eyed about history and the Constitution. While I support maintaining our readiness and replenishing stockpiles, I cannot support funding for further military operations without a formal declaration of war from Congress." And like, this is basically about as close as you can get right now to a formal break from Donald Trump. And I think that this is going to, I think that you're going to start seeing a few more guys like this stepping forward, especially as we get closer and closer to the midterms, to break from Donald Trump. I think this is a good sign, but it's also coming a little bit late, I would say. I will also say that even if Donald Trump did escalate, attacking Iran again and again, using different munitions, etc., it's worth noting that that doesn't solve his problem. Using a nuclear weapon or mother of all bomb or whatever you want to put into circulation in Iran, no matter how hard you bomb them, it is not going to stop their ability to close off the Strait of Hormuz. And it's not going to take away their ability to escalate should escalation be necessary, because it's worth noting that Iran isn't even doing everything it can. They're not going all out right now. And the reason I say that is in this picture, right? You've got the Strait of Hormuz, but you also have this down here, which is called Bab al-Mandeb. Bab al-Mandeb. And something you should know is that Iran also has the capability of blocking that particular waterway. And I gotta tell you guys, if that happens, it's a major economic escalation. And Iran has also intimated that they have the ability, should it be necessary, to close, the Suez Canal. Now, that would be logistically harder for them to do, but this is the when it comes to the Bab, Iran's parliamentary speaker makes a veiled threat about shipping choke point, specifically the Bab al-Mandeb Strait. Quote, "What share of global oil, liquefied natural gas, wheat, rice, and fertilizer shipments transits the Bab al-Mandeb Strait?" Mohammed Bagher Ghalibaf posted on X. "Which countries and companies account for the highest transit volumes through the strait?" Iran has the capability of locking that down, especially with the cooperation of the Houthis in Yemen. Okay? So we're like, this is not a good position for Donald Trump to be in, and he knows that. And he's desperate for a way to get out of it, but he doesn't know how. And that's kind of what scares me in this entire situation. There's a reason not even Bush was dumb enough to get baited into attacking Iran by Israel. Exactly. This is basically, if you look back at like what the CIA was talking about, like projected invasions of Iran, etc., Iran's basically doing every single thing that they were projected to do. Literally any expert on Iran could have told Donald Trump, do not do this. But he surrounded himself with yes men who were like, nah, bro, you got this. You can do Venezuela too. It's fine. And I gotta be honest with you, the US intelligence coming out of Iran right now is really fucking bad for Donald Trump. He keeps saying, we've destroyed Iran. We've destroyed their military capabilities. They're basically done. They're basically annihilated. And then you've got articles coming out like this from CNN. US intelligence assesses Iran maintains significant missile launching capability. Like, the reports are here that they still retain 50% of their drone capabilities and missile capabilities. Like, the assessment right now is that, like, the United States has underestimated how many missiles and drones they have. And not only that, Reuters reporting earlier today, US intelligence warns Iran unlikely to ease Hormuz Strait chokehold soon, which, yeah, no shit. It's their one point of leverage right now, but it's a very effective point of leverage. They have the military capability to hold this down practically indefinitely. And on top of that, another report from earlier today, apparently any of these missile sites that the United States has been hitting, Iran is quickly repairing them. And yeah, Iranian operatives have been digging out underground missile bunkers and silos struck by American and Israeli bombs, returning them to operation hours after an attack, according to U.S. intelligence reports. Iran also retains a significant amount of its missiles and mobile launchers. At a briefing this week, the Pentagon said it had struck 11,000 targets in Iran in 5 weeks of war, but American intelligence agencies have cast doubt on how close the United States is to destroying Iran's missile capability, a key goal in the war. So basically, they keep digging out all of their bunkers and their missile silos, and we are able to not functionally take many of them out. Donald Trump has gotten himself into a situation where he's watching his political support immolate itself. This is the least popular war the United States has ever been involved in. And on top of that, you've got a situation where there's no improvement of this. There's no improvement. There's no way the war gets turned around in this particular circumstance. He is going to continue to slide in the polls because every single Republican who supported this is starting to slowly realize day after day that this was a really fucking bad idea. They're going to start seeing, hey, we're paying even more at the pump. Hey, wait a minute, my fertilizer is costing more. Hey, wait a minute, my food is costing more. Hey, wait a minute. Why are we even there? You know, didn't he tell us we destroyed their nuclear program? Why are we there? How have we burned through $1 trillion military budget and they're beating us with drones? Like, what? There's no way for him to spin this in a positive way. And so if he's committed to locking in here, as it seems he must, there is no popularity going back up. People's material conditions are going to be worse because of this. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, Trump could get away with this if material conditions weren't worsening. If Trump is impeached,
do you think Vance would be more likely to back off considering his lack of spine?
I think Vance would absolutely back off because Vance understands that this is a fucking toxic, shitty quagmire. You know? Like, JD Vance understands that this conflict has basically killed any chances he has at getting reelected. And if he were to be able to oust Donald Trump through like impeachment and removal by the Senate, then I think he would absolutely try and take us out of this because it's it would be the only thing that could possibly salvage his future political career. Right? And so, yeah, JD Vance is an evil piece of shit, but he doesn't have a soup brain, I think is the exact correct assessment of JD Vance, right? So when we're looking at this conflict, it's important to note that this might be the thing that destroys Donald Trump, and it might be the thing that destroys the Republican Party. Right now, and up to this point, Donald Trump has been able to maintain a pretty fragile coalition around fear of his cult of personality. if that cult of personality is punctured by the reality of this conflict, by the damage that Iran is doing economically to the United States, along with the rest of the world, like, he has nothing that keeps him in power and protects him. And so if we are setting ourselves up for a midterms where Democrats take the House and Senate...
If the Dems were a competent and uncorrupted party, the GOP would be sent the way of the Whigs. The Baileys must be abandoned if we are to survive.
100% Sake Tanuki. It is reliant upon us to organize. It's why I end every single segment that I do these days telling you guys to get involved with your local Democrats, telling you guys to get involved with your local DSA. Because it's not enough to just know the correct thing. It's not enough to just know the correct policy. We need to be showing up at our local meetings. We need to be in the room making the decisions about who are viable candidates, we need to be in the room making our organizations more effective rather than just sitting around circle jerking. Like, we need to actually be doing shit. Because we're coming up rapidly now to a point of, like, actual inflection where things can actually change. And it's really, really important that we take advantage of that. Did you hear about them floating the idea of a draft 18 to 42? They're not going to draft anybody. Let me tell you, if they started a draft, genuinely, I think their lives might be in danger. You know? Who can help us with DSA? Gamergy can help you with DSA. And either you can join our Discord, just type !Discord into any of the chats. Join our Discord, reach out to Gamergy on Discord, and reach out to Dragonfly on Discord for help with your local Dems. But also, if you don't want to join our Discord for whatever reason, you can head to riverboat.gg, and Gamergy and Dragonfly tend to both be in that chat. So you can pick their brains over there, and they can help you get involved either in Discord or over here. There's a whole lot of bad bullshit happening right now. And that's not even beginning to touch on the idea of, what is happening in Iraq. Right now, Iraq is like on the precipice of being completely destabilized by essentially a bunch of armed paramilitary groups that have significant government support are at war with the U.S. bases in Iraq. Like, they're getting struck by different bombing runs, and then they are striking back at U.S. bases in Iraq. Additionally, the Iraqi government is on their side. Everyone right now hates the United States because what the United States has done is stupid, and we did it for no reason. And that isn't even beginning to talk about Lebanon. The war crimes are mounting in such a fashion that it's genuinely, I'd like to say it's astonishing, but sadly it's not, from the United States military. Here's Donald Trump from just yesterday. Our military, the greatest and most powerful by far anywhere in the world, hasn't even started destroying what's left in Iran. Bridges next, then electric power plants. New regime leadership knows what has to be done. It has to be done fast. President Donald J. Trump. That is the president of the United States announcing his intent to do war crimes. Destroying civilian infrastructure is a war crime. This man should be tried in front of the Hague. He should be removed immediately and tried for his crimes. This war sounds like one of the dumbest things Trump has done. It is. It's dumb in a way that is absolutely catastrophic. Just Security put out this report yesterday. Letter of over 100 national law experts on the Iran war. We, the undersigned US-based international law experts, professors, and practitioners, write to express profound concern about serious violations of international law and alarming rhetoric by the United States, Israel, and Iran in the present armed conflict in the Middle East. Due to our connections to the United States, our focus here is on the conduct of the U.S. government, but we remain concerned about the risk of atrocities across the region, including the continuing risks posed by the Iranian government to Iranians through violent crackdowns on dissent, and to civilians across the Middle East through Iran's ongoing unlawful strikes on civilian infrastructure using explosive weapons in densely populated areas. 1 month has passed since the United States and Israel launched strikes across Iran. The initiation of the campaign was a clear violation of the United Nations Charter, and the conduct of the United States forces since, as well as statements made by senior government officials, raised serious concerns about the violation of international human rights law and international humanitarian law, including potential war crimes. We collectively affirm the importance of the equal application of international law to all, including countries that hold themselves out as global leaders. Recent statements from senior U.S. Government officials describing the rules governing military engagement as stupid and prioritizing lethality over legality are profoundly alarming and dangerously short-sighted. These claims, particularly in combination with the observable conduct of U.S. forces, are harming the international legal order and the system of international law that we have devoted our lives to promoting. The war, which is costing U.S. taxpayers between $1 to $2 billion each day, is imposing significant harm to civilians in the region, has resulted in the loss of hundreds of civilian lives across the Middle East, and is causing serious environmental and economic harms. We are seriously concerned about strikes that have hit schools, health facilities, and homes. The Iranian Red Crescent reports that 67,414 civilian sites have been struck, of which 498 are schools and 236 healthcare facilities. A report by leading civil society organizations found that 1,443 Iranian civilians, including 217 children, were killed by U.S. forces and Israeli forces between February 28th and March 23rd. And I would like to also point out here, the number of schools targeted has risen since that report or that letter was sent to over 600. The war crimes are escalating, and again, denial of quarter from Pete Hegseth is another prominent example. Also worth noting that the United States apparently the other day attempted an assassination of allegedly someone they were trying to negotiate with. According to Mehr news agency, a semi-official Iranian outlet, Kamal Karazi, a former Iranian foreign minister, was injured in what is described as an attack on residential buildings in Tehran by the United States and Israel on Wednesday. Kingdom of Bra, thank you very much for subscribing. I appreciate you. Karazi is considered a veteran policy expert and a moderate politician and the head of Iran's Foreign Policy Council, which sets the country's overall foreign policy. Two Iranian officials said Karazi had been overseeing engagement with Pakistan for a possible meeting with between Iranian officials and Vice President J.D. Vance. The officials said the targeting of Karazi is viewed as an attempt to derail diplomacy. Also, Donald Trump does not seem very interested in negotiating. So, I'm unsure exactly how this is going to go, because Iran seems to not be interested at all in actually negotiating, because the United States has destroyed any presumption of good faith, has destroyed any idea of a peaceful solution to this. Things are not going great. We haven't even really done a deep dive into the economic pressure that this is that Iran closing the Strait of Hormuz is putting on the rest of the world. I want to go down just a little rabbit hole with you guys to talk to you about the Emiratis Global Aluminum Company. This is just one thing. A lot of people have been talking about oil. A lot of people have been talking about liquefied natural gas. A lot of people have been talking about fertilizer. Not many people have been talking about aluminum. And, the other day, Iran struck an aluminum smelting facility outside of, I believe, or near the Khalifa Economic Zone, Abu Dhabi. So, that's the area this smelting facility is in. It's called the Al Tawila site. Apology for the pronunciation. This is the statement that was put out, right? An update on the facility's status. Emiratis Global Aluminum today provided an initial assessment of operations following the recent Iranian attacks on the company's Al Tawila site, one of the biggest aluminum production complexes in the world. In fact, this one smelting facility is responsible for about 2% of all aluminum produced on the planet. Also, Quasi-Spec, thank you for the 1,000 bits. Very much appreciated. The site, including the smelter and cast house, power plant, Altawila alumina refinery, and Altawila recycling plant, was fully evacuated and the facilities entered emergency shutdown. To resume operations at the smelter, EGA must repair infrastructure damage and progressively restore each of the reduction cells. Early indications are that a complete restoration of primary aluminum production could take up to 12 months. Just real quick. You can't just like flip a switch and turn it back on for these kinds of things, especially not for the damage that has been done by something like a missile strike. In particular, what happened here, essentially the strike caused the different components of the plant to fuse together after a runaway emergency shutdown needed to happen, which is why it takes so long to repair. Our Altawila site is a foundation of the global economy, a significant contributor to global supply, making this incident damaging to industries and prosperity worldwide. We'll do our best to support our customers around the world during this difficult period. We are working directly with customers whose deliveries might be impacted by the situation at Altawila. Now, just want to let you guys know that the situation might in fact be worse than what this statement reads as, because EGA sold the alumina it had on hand. And alumina is the raw material you need in order to make aluminum. So they sold their stock of alumina, and they also have sold their half-filled shipments that they had on hand. So this is not going to be fixed anytime soon. And aluminum is something that like makes the entire modern world you have possible. Whether you're thinking of cars or beer or soda or insert any number of things that rely on lightweight metal. So they owe a lot of people a lot of money. They don't owe a lot of people a lot of money. The indicator for this is they do not have the ability to hold on to the alumina and store the alumina until their smelter comes online, meaning that all of their temporary storage facilities are either filled up or destroyed, meaning like shit's fucked. Shit is fucked. Also, by the way, the United States, of course, placed a 25% tariff on aluminum products being imported into the United States. So have fun with that, all of you. Super cool stuff. They have to keep it hot. They have to keep the facility hot, yeah. If the facility shuts down unexpectedly, like it's, to quote this particular early report of the attack, the smelter on the outskirts of Abu Dhabi lost power due to the strikes, and smelting facilities known as pot lines were forced into an uncontrolled shutdown. Metal has solidified inside the smelting circuits, causing significant damage to the operations. So basically, when you have an uncontrolled shutdown within one of these facilities, the metal hardens. It all fuses together. You can't just like fix it because it fucking fuses the entire facility together. And also, if you're wondering, well, okay, so, well, how much aluminum exactly goes through, like, the Strait of Hormuz? About 9% of the global supply goes through the Strait of Hormuz. There's a lot of economic damage that is coming down the pipeline that America hasn't even begun to feel yet. And we are going to feel it. So when I talk about this being a problem for Donald Trump, I do mean it. Like, this is the kind of thing where he's going to be sitting in his office. And frankly, when I read the article earlier today about Donald Trump looking to axe other members of his cabinet because he's so angry about everything that's happening right now, the thing that came to my mind was Hitler in the bunker. And I think that we've entered the Hitler bunker era of Donald Trump. I think he's effectively locking himself down. He's trying to figure out a way out, and I don't think he's going to be able to find one. I think he's trapped. I don't know if he realizes it yet. I don't know if his supporters realize it yet. But I think as pain continues, I think as economic pain ramps up, I think as horrible news continues to come out of the Middle East and Iran continues to be able to launch missiles and continues to be able to launch drones. I mean, we already have so many of our military bases in shambles throughout the Middle East that, our soldiers and the staff at different military bases have had to move into hotels in civilian areas. So, I don't know. I don't see any way that this news is going to improve. The silver lining here is that Donald Trump is at some point going to lose that Republican support. I think the polling indicates that he is losing it. And that's not to say that Republicans are going to become Democrats or Republicans are going to become leftists. But it is to say that Republicans are going to leave him. And they're going to gravitate to someone like Tucker Carlson. Or, I don't know, Ted fucking Cruz or someone, you know? They're going to pick a new guy. Optimistic of you to assume we get there without the U.S. having its own Normandy incursions and Dresden moments. Well, keep in mind, the United States is not Nazi Germany. Two very different situations. And the entirety of Donald Trump's support has relied on his cult of personality. And if you no longer have an effective cult of personality, he has nothing. The only thing that keeps him in power is that cult of personality. It's certainly not the favors he's doing for big business right now. It's an aluminum nut lining. I like the way you think, Pork Chop Express. Candace Owens could channel the spirit of Charlie Kirk. No, don't speak that into existence, Malachi. That might genuinely attract millions of conservatives right now. Don't you take that back. You suck it back up into your mouth hole. All right? Stop it. Do we get to see Trump's freak out? I hope so. He's probably going to have the most public crash out of all time. And I think this is where I'm going to end this segment with just one last thing, right? Which is that in the middle of all of this, of course, the golfing company that Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump got to invest in drones is now selling drone interceptors in the Middle East to all of the countries that Iran is bombing. Of course, there's just fucking grift after grift after grift after grift. And I gotta tell you guys, I hope I live to see each and every member of this godforsaken family rot in prison. Every single one of them. It's disgusting. It is disgusting what they get away with. Each and every miserable one of them. God, it's just fraud and corruption as far as the eye can see. Exactly. Exactly. I hope there's justice. It's not enough to just hope for justice. We must demand justice. You know, the arc of history bends towards justice, but it is people that bend it. And so when I talk about getting organized, when I talk about joining your local Dems, radicalizing them, making them more progressive, kicking out those who are too bought out by lobbyists and oligarchs to be of any use. Part of organizing is instilling the idea that there must be justice. Any kind of future for this country must be built upon accountability and justice. We need accountability for the people who have wronged us. We need justice for the people who have been wronged. And so when we look at a future world, it cannot be one where the next Democratic president simply pardons Donald Trump, simply swipes all of this under the rug. It cannot be that. We cannot allow it to be so. And it can only be so with our consent. Our consent or our apathy. And so I'm encouraging each and every one of you, start going to those local Democratic meetings, because you can, in fact, put things on the platform for your local party. You can, in fact, influence which candidates move forward. You can, in fact, have a huge outsized impact on your local political scene. And I want you guys to know that. You know, I talked with one of the members of our community who's been organizing, and how the people in her county, it only takes like 26 people to run like a 3 county-wide campaign that could send someone to Congress. It does not take that many people to get involved and give a damn to actually change the political landscape.
Not sure if it's that I am getting older or just the world around me, but sometimes I feel my fire die a little.
You know, that's fine. All fires die a little sometimes. You just got to keep feeding it. You got to fuel it. So what I'm asking you guys to do, join your local Dems. Think of it like a pirate ship boarding. You are boarding a vessel and you are trying to radicalize it. You're trying to take it over. All right. That is our goal. Our goal is not to become one of the Chuck Schumers. The goal is to take over the Democratic Party. The goal is to co-opt that institution and use it for good rather than for evil. And the goal for joining your local DSA is to make them effective. The goal is to knock them out of this spiral of circle jerk virtue signaling. I have no patience for it. Okay? And what you need to do, and I've talked about this before, it's not complicated. You show up. You talk to people. You get to know other folks in your local scene, and then you convince them, or you bring more people who agree with you to the meetings. But if you show up and then you say yes to different leadership opportunities, different roles you can play, pretty soon that demonstration of reliability does in fact get rewarded. We have at least a dozen people in this community who have just shown up to their local meetings and been handed power in their local political scene. 95% of political change is just showing the fuck up. So I'm asking you guys to show the fuck up. And if you are interested in doing that, but you don't know how, you can join our Discord, !Discord in any of the chats. Join the Discord, reach out to GamerG for help joining your local DSA, reach out to Dragonfly for help joining your local Dems. And if you don't want to join Discord for whatever reason, you can head over to riverboat.gg and you can find usually Dragonfly and GamerG over there. In fact, you can actually see them both in chat right here. So do that. Take advantage of this. Both of them have been organizing for political change for years. Take advantage of that expertise. We want to help you. I know shit's fucked. I know shit is fucked. But we can, in fact, unfuck it. So if you got anything out of this, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment. Comments longer than 8 words really help in the algorithm. And last but not least, check out ImogeneOlivia.com. Gender euphoric lingerie designed from the ground up for trans femmes. Also tested with cis men, cis women, non-binary folks. It is sexy, attractive, elegant, non-tucking lingerie. Check it out, ImogeneOlivia.com. Link should be down in the description. And let's keep on going.
Riverboat deck is coming to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube and switching streams. All that content is bursting the seams. Politics, being flame more. Your sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord. Riverboat.